Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with Keith Carter. Who's Keith Carter? He is the animator behind all those great cross-examined animated videos. Keith, how did you become a Christian?
Oh, wow. Gosh. Well, it really started back in the day, and I think it was in the 90s. And I watched this movie, and this movie was the first opening of my eyes of knowing what Christ was about. Even though I grew up in a church, I didn't really, I was kind of there, but I wasn't there. So I knew what everyone else was believing, but I was just, in the background passing time. But as an adult, I just seriously, watched this film, and it made me pick up my Bible that my mom and them got me when I was 12 years old, a kid's Bible. I started reading this kid's Bible, and that was when I first started to feel there's something going on here that I can't see, and that was the beginning of my trek.
So how did you then become an animator? Because this wasn't your first gig when you came to CrossExamined. I mean, you worked for a lot of different famous publications
right.
and efforts. How did you become an animator, and who'd you work for?
So basically, when I started out, man, I had worked from everyone from USA Today to National Geographic, worked with Marvel, I worked with Topps Comics, Hilton. I mean, again, Marvel Comics, right? Anyway, I started in animation because back in Washington, D.C., there was this studio that opened up, and they were looking for people, not so much animators, but people that had talent they could train, and so they would give them the opportunity. And so there was a buddy of mine that worked there at News in Motion in Washington, D.C. News in Motion is not even around anymore, but they were doing animations for like about 70 different stations around the U.S., and they gave me my start, and that's how I, started this climb.
So you had a natural talent from a kid? As a kid, could you draw? Could you draw anything? And I mean, were you into comics? Were you into cartoons, movies? What were you into that inspired you?
So in the mornings, man, especially Saturday mornings, I was watching Scooby-Doo. I was watching Hanna-Barbera, Filmation, and all this. And the thing that I learned from these old cartoons are they had low production value, meaning they had to do these things quick and had to do them cheaply. And I didn't realize how much that played in. So when I started working in television, all I learned was cheap tricks because you had to move it fast. It had to be done by the end of the day. And what we were doing in the beginning of those days, I thought was very cheesy. But over time, it became what I call quality cheese.
Quality cheese,
yes.
So you were doing it all by hand back then. And how much of the work that you do now, when somebody sees a cross-examined video, animated video, how much of that is by hand? How much of that is with computers? How do you do that?
Okay, so that's a great question. So yes, when I was working back in the day, everything became CGI, especially when Disney brought in the CGI stuff from Pixar, and so all of a sudden everything's CGI. So we started learning 3D programs and so forth. But as I got into, especially I started working with you guys, I really love the cartoons back from Hanna-Barbera and the Saturday morning cartoons. And so what I would do is I would draw my stuff by hand, scan it in the computer, then I would mix, hand drawing techniques with computer techniques to kind of give it a hybrid of retro meets today's technology.
Is that how you do it now?
That's how I do it now. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So because I like that feeling of something being drawn by hand. There's something about the hand it's almost, because we're not perfect, so it's a little wavy. Whereas the computer is a little bit too perfect, so that waviness of the hand, the imperfection of humanity, kind of slips into the work.
Now, in addition to the videos, we did a book together. A comic book about mere Christianity. It's kind of a summary of I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. The 4 points that prove mere Christianity. Some of the imagery is around us right here.
Right.
Here it is right here. This is the hardcover version, and here's the softcover version. So how do you create something like this?
I start with a pencil sketch. I start with, kind of laying out the book by chapters, and then determine on how much information visually I was going to break that down to tell your dialogue, and then hopefully trying to tie in the visuals to the script.
People love the book, especially kids, because and adults that don't read. Okay, can you summarize? I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. Yeah, here it is, 10 minutes. Okay, it's a comic book. Obviously, we're leaving a lot out, but a lot of young people especially really like this. This happens to be the Spanish version.
I just realized I brought the Spanish
the Spanish version, but we have a Spanish
and there's an English
version. Yeah. Now, say I hand you a script. This is what I want you to animate. How long does it take you to actually pull all that together? Let's say it's a 3 or 4 minute video. How long from start to finish does it take?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Sometimes it's it could take a few months, but it depends on how involved it is. Now, and that's again, it comes back to resting on your laurels. If I use the same solutions I've been doing all the time, my work would start to look the same. It would be, you know, like that looks no different than this video, looks no different than this video. So I'm trying to find a different solution each time so it looks like a different product. And so sometimes it could take 3 months, 4 months. I think the last production we did on about Follow Your Heart, that was like 6 months of my time, but I was also doing that while I was doing the comics, so it took a lot longer. And and again, that had a lot of hand-drawn elements. So man, that took some time because I wanted to do the whole thing by hand, but I realized it's too much work for one man. So when you see these animations running in the movies, and there's all these credits behind it, because it takes a lot of people to do this, and I'm just a one-man show, you know. So I'm gonna say a good 3 to 4 months to do a really pro level thing that I'd be proud of.
What's the best thing about doing this for you?
For me, this is great. So since I've been with the CrossExamined, it's been like 5 years, and it's the creative freedom that I have here. Now, for you, your concern is the theology. If the theology is right, then I don't think that you have any issues about a color being red.
No, it's up to you.
So
you're the artiste.
I never had this creative freedom before. So this is, I've always had an art director. I always had an editor. I'm the editor. I'm the art director. I'm the artist, the everything. That's so it really brings a lot of responsibility on my end, but it brings a lot of creative freedom. So that's one of the best things about this job, because I've never had that before.
Yeah. Now you're working for us kind of half time. So when you said it takes 3 or 4 months, if you were working on it full time, it may take about half that.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, because I'm only working about 20 hours a week. Now sometimes it could be 25 hours a week, but yes, because I'm working part time, that does change the landscape.
What do you like most about working for CrossExamined?
So CrossExamined, other than the freedom, the creative freedom, I don't know. I've never had, it's made me more aware of being conscious of time. It's made me, actually, I've become more aware and conscious of information concerning Christ, concerning the Gospels, because I realize if there's people out there that consider the scriptures fairy tales or moral tales, I now have a more solid understanding of how I can present information that's outside of the Bible. So maybe it might make them think, is it possible Christ did rise from the dead? There's information. And again, as you said, there's always room for doubt, but is it reasonable?
That's right. Yeah.
So I think I've learned a lot. Just doing the animations, doing the book, I have so much that's got in my head that I've got a lot of information I don't even realize I picked up on by just doing these projects.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christ is a matter of history, not mere hope. And the evidence is out there, and we're trying to communicate the evidence in every single possible way we can imagine. One is through animation and the great work of Keith Carter. Keith, any final revelations or reflections on what we're doing?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. So, all right. So at this time in my life, at 60 years old, I am now working for the God of the universe. Now, I don't know if I can get much higher in this. Now, if the atheists are right and there's a parallel universe, maybe I can make a lateral move at some point. But if not, I'm working with the highest authority out there. So I'm proud and I'm honored, and I'm trying to give I'm trying to give you guys my best and the Lord my best.
Amen. Well, you're doing it, and keep looking for more videos. We're going to be releasing some of the videos we've already done in kind of an amplified way coming up here as we go. So keep an eye on the CrossExamined YouTube channel, Instagram page, Facebook page, TikTok page, wherever we put this stuff out, put it out on our own website, because these short videos are really effective if done right, and Keith does them right, to reach people that we normally couldn't reach. So thanks for all your support out there so we can do this.